Chad Dukes versus the world on 106.7 The Fan. Momentarily, I'll be joined by Phil Taylor as well, but right now, Baltimore Ravens cornerback Kyle Arrington joins me live in studio. What's up, Kyle?
Nothing much, man. Glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
Akakeek you're from, huh?
Yes, sir.
Telling you, I got a listener, Vic in Akakeek. He's going to freak out.
Did you know?
He's going to be happy.
Listen, I might know Vic. It's a very small town.
Well, it's good to have you back in the area. You and Phil are going to do the Gwyn Park All-Pro Football Camp. Free for kids 7 to 18. That's pretty cool. Visit allprofootballcamp.info for more details. What exactly are you guys going to accomplish out there?
For first and foremost, key ingredient is just to have fun.
Sure.
Have fun with it and to give back to our community. You know, both from Gwyn Park. Very good school, very good area. And, you know, the more pillars you could be, you know, on and off the field, you know, the better. So try to be great role models, great examples. Try to give a few techniques, you know, we've learned along the way, and
Sure.
try to show the kids it's the same thing. And, you know, that we impact one kid in a positive way, you know, it makes it all worthwhile.
That's awesome. And that's something I did a show for 5 years with Lavar Arrington, and he does that all the time, does the heads-up football.
Mm-hmm.
How much different is it, do you think, even from when you were being trained as a young man, to teach football? Because there's so much scrutiny now on the head injuries and on the concussions, especially as a defensive guy.
Mm-hmm.
I imagine that makes it a more difficult process.
Kind of.
Yeah. I
Definitely. No, definitely. I mean, the game is just, it's evolving now into where so much research and statistics, you know, are being done and shown. And it definitely, you know, it correlates. You know, the younger you play, the younger you start, you know, the more, I guess, susceptible you are to have neurological injuries and things of that nature. But I mean, it's a violent sport, so there's almost no, I want to say no way to get around it. But I mean, you know, I guess the later you start, you know, I started late myself. I was, I think, 13 when I started playing, 13, 14. And
Why? Why'd you start late?
Well, I fancy myself a basketball player.
Okay. It's an easier way to make a living.
Yeah, exactly. But the height never really caught up to the to the goals, to the dream. Yeah. So I had to make lemonade, I guess.
Well, I'd say you made a lot of lemonade.
Yeah, exactly.
Kudos to you. Of course, Kyle Arrington's with me. You can follow him on Twitter at what is it? R24 ARR2FOUR. That's how you get after you on Twitter. All right, there's a bunch of stuff I got to ask you. You get to be a part of a New England Patriots team, and all they do is win. And then now you're a part of a Ravens team.
Mm-hmm.
All they do is win. Like I'm friends with Santana Moss, who is, I think, one of the best dudes in football. But he had to come from the Jets here to Washington. Had about 13 quarterbacks in between. Guy never had a crack at a championship. It's got to feel good to be able to, you know, go into an organization that knows what they're doing.
Very fortunate, you know, to be able to be not only a part of one but two high-class organizations, you know, like New England and now Baltimore. And, you know, just the work ethic is, you know, I got to being up there for 6 years in New England experience. It's just a tremendous work ethic, not only with, you know, the players, but the coaches. Same thing, you know, I've seen already in Baltimore. And like I said, it starts from the top down. It's just great ownership. Leadership from the top down, and you know, teammates, high character guys, you know, in both locker rooms, and you know, like I said, it's very fortunate, you know, the situation I've been placed in. A lot of guys come through in and out of this league who never really get an opportunity to even play, you know, in the big one, and yet alone win a Super Bowl. So, what can I say?
Yeah, you could be like D'Angelo Hall and come from Oakland to Washington. Unfortunately, he's a great player, but there's a lot of ass kickings in there because of the franchise. You guys, when you were in New England, you scrimmaged against the Redskins, right? You had
Correct.
like a joint practice.
Mm-hmm.
I hope you can be honest with me. How much did you notice any striking differences between the way in New England you guys were doing your business and what you saw the Redskins doing?
To be completely honest, no. I mean, and there's nothing wrong. I mean, everyone has their different philosophy, I guess, if you will. You know, when we got down there, it is almost, you know, it's very, I should say theatrical, but there's a lot going on, you know, down in Richmond. Yeah. And I mean, fans were right on the field, you know, got stands everywhere, T-shirts being sold everywhere. I mean, it's very. I mean, and it is great for the fans.
It's great for the fans.
Yeah. I mean, it could be a distraction, I guess, for the players, because up in, like I said, but everywhere's different.
But if you can give your opinion, I mean that it sounds like that would be distracting if you were in that situation.
A little bit.
Okay. When you saw them going about their business on the field, how much different did you feel it was than the way that you guys in New England went about your process, practicing, going up against another squad? Did you notice anything glaring?
Well, the coaches, both coaches on opposite sides, do a great job of coming together and trying to put together structured practice, kind of the way that, one team might do it here, another team might do it there. And so it's a good combination. So I think it was structured very well, and it wasn't any difference. That noticeable, at least from my perspective.
I see you're savvy. I'm trying to get you to trash the team, and you won't do it. Kyle Arrington is with me. We're actually just joined by Phil Taylor as well. They're going to have their football camp, Gwyn Park. It's going to be free for kids, 7 to 18. You can go to allprofootballcamp.info. Of course, Phil plays for the Cleveland Browns. Thanks for making it up to the studio, Phil. How you doing, bud?
Doing good. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Well, first of all, I just visited Cleveland. I actually had a hell of a time, but it is a very unique town. What is it like playing there with the history, all of the burden of all of the, you hear the drive, you hear the fumble, you hear all these different things, and you know how passionate the fan base is. What's it like playing for those fans?
It's awesome. I mean, they're love-hate fans, but hey, that's the way you got to have it. When you're winning, they love you. If you mess up, they let you know, So, it's just like having another mom out there. All those guys treat you like your mom did back in the day.
Yeah. Yeah. What is it like with people, annoying people like me, when all they want to talk about is Johnny Manziel? How do you kind of like push all that aside and continue to go about your business?
It is what it is. I mean, everybody wants to know, but, right now we're going to see who's going to be at the helm. So when training camp gets here, that'll answer all you guys' questions.
Yeah. And I guess that could be asked to you too, Kyle. What is it like when you're on a team and the media is after something and they're just after? And it's feel like with the Patriots, every time they turn left or right, that took place. Is that something you can tune out? Because I would imagine it would get very irritating on a week in, week out basis when you keep having to answer the same questions over and over again.
Nah, you just find it a way to switch up, your answers here and there.
Okay.
Nah, I mean that's that's the media's job. They have a job just like we have a job. And we do a good. A lot of teams around the league now are doing media, one-on-one, with the rookies now, and we've been doing it for a while in New England. So yeah. I mean, it comes with the territory, like Phil said.
Yeah. Okay. Kyle Arrington and Phil Taylor join me live in studio in Chad Dukes First of the Word. Phil, you're a Baylor guy. You got a chance to play with the quarterback of our team, and Robert Griffin III. What's some of the things that I don't know how much time you get to spend watching his pro stuff, but what are some of the differences you've noticed about him as a player in college as opposed to now as a professional?
I mean, a lot of things. The way he plays, he doesn't run nearly as much as he did in college, because the guys are a lot bigger than they were in college, a lot faster, so he's gotten a lot smarter. He's real football shabby, and I mean he knows what's going on. He knows how to read the defense and things like that. So I've definitely, watched him learn things like that.
So you're seeing like kind of a maturation process in him as a pro.
Exactly.
Okay. The stuff, and again, we seem to be talking about this a lot, but the coverage that surrounds him. I don't know if you could compare it to what you are dealing with in Cleveland with Johnny Manziel, but the press seems to be obsessed. No matter what he says on Twitter, it seems to turn into a big deal. Is there any way that, like, if that were you, if you were going through that, how would you handle that? Would you have a Twitter account? Would you do media? Would you start your own brand at that time? Like, how would you handle that situation?
I mean, speaking for me and speaking for other guys, I mean, a lot of people say they don't look into the media, but, I look at that stuff. We look at that stuff, and, like, we're humans too. A lot of people say stuff, and they think they can say whatever they want and all this stuff, but, we have feelings too. We're humans, but at the same time, when we play, we're under the spotlight, so we couldn't, comment back, the way we want to. So, sure. We have to just keep walking, brush it off.
This is for both of you guys, and Kyle, I'll start with you, and then I'd love you to answer it as well. But when you are looking at the game right now, the entire thing seems biased towards not only the offense, but passing. All the rules, a lot of the calls, it just seems like they want the quarterbacks upright. They don't want them touched. And playing defense, if there's any question, there's going to be a flag thrown. How differently is your craft just over the portions of your career? And how differently was it from when you were learning football? Because I imagine you're being asked to do a lot of different things in a very short amount of time. That must be a difficult process.
Well, as I stated earlier, the game's evolved so much. And it's no different now in how you have to play the game, approach the game. And, it just had to be, a lot of things we were taught, just had to do business as business being done. It's, if you're playing a certain game, the refs, you see how they're calling it, all right, you can see, you can play that way.
Sure.
But as a, bring more rules into the game here and there, what you can do, what you cannot do as a defensive player, you have to adapt. And I mean, that's what the NFL really is all about, man. It's things change in a hurry.
Sure.
Whether it's on the field or off the field, as you can see.
Would you say the same thing? I mean, when it's a different position you're playing, clearly, Phil, but when you look at the defensive side of the ball, it just seems like that's the side that their jobs are becoming more and more difficult, while, you want to facilitate those television ratings, and the NFL seems to think that means higher ratings, higher numbers, higher scores from the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah, I mean, like Kyle said, the game is evolving fast, but I don't like it as a defensive lineman. You can't. They're taking the fun out of football. Football is supposed to be a rough, beat 'em up sport. And each year they're taking away the hitting and things like that. Now you get hit and you get fined for hitting somebody. Back in the day, that was a good hit, both sides of the ball.
Right.
That was a good hit. Just walk away from it. Now, you taking food out of people's kids' mouths just because they're playing the game they love at a high tempo and hitting somebody, which back in the day wasn't a problem.
So, and you also look at it, too. Everybody thinks that you guys are compensated well, but not everybody has – the Cam Newton deal. Not everybody has the Peyton Manning deal, and these are serious numbers being thrown around. And if you're just out there trying to do your job and not even intending to do something wrong, and you get fined a huge chunk of change, that makes you less likely to attempt that next time. Isn't that more dangerous? If you guys are thinking about it that much, doesn't that make you more likely to get injured?
Yeah, I mean, when you're thinking about not trying to hit somebody, you can be, you mess up on the play and they can throw it right over your head, or that you can be not trying to hit somebody so hard that person can bounce off your hit and go for a touchdown. So, I mean, it's tough, but like the coaches say, you just got to find a way.
Yeah. Kyle, who's the wide receiver? I won't say that. I'm sure that you feel confident going up against all of them, but who's the one that you are impressed by the most, that you respect the most?
There's so many out here in this league now. I mean, they come in all different shapes and sizes. Whether they're your Antonio Browns, your Calvin Johnsons, of course, and so they don't make them easy. They don't make them easy. Yeah, Sunday after Sunday, it doesn't get any easy.
No, it doesn't. And when you look at that, and when you approach your business and you go and say, all right, I'm covering this guy, if it's someone that's 6 inches tall, just week to week, how different is your preparation? Because the two guys you just described physically are very different. Exactly. And they provide different matches. How do you kind of adjust your preparation week from week in preparation for that?
Well, it's a chess game. It's a lot of strategy goes into it week to week. And then even when you get on game day, as far as, what you want to take away, the other team has to find out, what you're trying to take away. And therefore, they have to adapt and go through a different game plan.
Right.
And then defensively, then you have to adapt on the fly and see what they're doing and things like that. And it's that's how it is individually, when you go up against a guy, and that's how it is conceptually as well.
Ravens quarterback Kyle Arrington and Cleveland Browns nose tackle Phil Taylor joined me live in studio, and I was asking Kyle a little bit about this, Phil, before you arrived. When you're working with kids nowadays, and you're going to be doing that at this camp, and you can go to allprofootballcamp.info. It is tomorrow, 9 a.m. to 3:30. Registration is free. 7 to 18 years old. You just got to register right there on the website. What is it like working with kids now with some of these things that we've been discussing, with the way the game is changing and this emphasis on safety? Because I'd imagine that it's probably more important than ever for camps like this to teach the kids the right way to play your sport.
Yeah, it's not so much harder now, because they still have to. Some of the kids still have to go through the high school, then college, then the pros. It's a little bit different on each level when it comes to the hitting. And in high school, that's what I'm basically telling them, have all your fun hitting in high school. Because, in college now they're starting, if you get hit, they eject you. If it's in the first half, you're ejected for the second. If it's in the second half, you got to miss the first half of the next game. So have all your fun now in high school because, the hitting and stuff, it starts to dwindle when you get into college and things like that.
What do you guys think of Puff Daddy going after that coach with the kettlebell? What do you think of that?
I don't think it is what they say it is.
You don't?
It's always three sides.
Yeah, it's always. But,
three sides?
If
you ever, I mean, I have to imagine that.
I just think Puffy's son going to that school is just, they're going to give him a hard time, and it could have been, the coach might have just been giving him a hard time for no reason, or, Puffy's son might have thought, you know who my dad is. I suppose I have a free ride and get whatever I want, like that. So, I mean, you never know. I mean, within a week, maybe or so, everything will come out.
I don't know if you saw it, but the guys used to do the show with Lavar Arrington was on TMZ, and he said, there's no way that you would speak to me in the street that way, so why would you speak to me that way when you're coaching me? And it was a slightly different take than he had when we used to do radio. As far as a coach getting up in your face and acting that way, is it something that you feed off of? Is that something that's kind of going away in the sport? Like, where is a coach's line right now, do you think?
I don't see that at all in the pros.
Right.
But the getting up in your face thing, I mean, it only affects certain kinds of kids, depending on where that kid's. You don't know what these kids have been through or can come from. So each person, you got to just coach them in a different way.
Yeah, exactly what I was going to say. As far as everybody's built different, and as a coach and as a staff, you have to know the makeup of your team and kind of know whose face you could get in, whose face you can. As far as how you could coach these kids, coach these players,
feel them out.
Exactly.
Yeah, I get it. Well, gentlemen, very cool. The camp sounds very cool. They get to come out and they get what? They get a full day. They get to work with both you guys, and it sounds like it's going to be something that could benefit anybody that wants to continue their football career for their kid. It's 7 to 18. You can go get all the details on allprofootballcamp.info, and it is at Gwyn Park All Pro Football Camp with Kyle Arrington and Phil Taylor. It's at R24 on Twitter and at Phil Taylor 98. Really appreciate you guys coming in. Thank you very much.
Appreciate you having us.
Have fun tomorrow. And they'll just move it inside. So if there is inclement weather, the camp goes down either way. It's Chad Dukes versus the world.